Max's brother sent him a video that turned his world upside down. It showed his girlfriend Emma at a party, her face smeared with whipped cream. Kneeling in front of her was Ethan, her childhood friend, slowly and deliberately licking it off her cheek. In the background, a crowd of people cheered them on. Emma wasn't protesting. She was smiling, a smug look on her face as she tilted her head to give Ethan better access. Max watched the short clip 3 times, a cold knot tightening in his stomach. He messaged his brother back with a simple 2-word reply: send location. 30 minutes later, he was pushing open the door to a hotel party suite. The noise died down for a moment as all eyes turned to him. Someone he vaguely recognized smirked and said, "Max, you made it." Max nodded, forcing a smile. Emma saw him and looked relieved, starting to get up to greet him. He held up a hand, and she sank back into her seat. Ethan, looking pleased with himself, said, "You're late. We were just in the middle of a game." Max walked over to stand beside Emma and placed the box he was carrying on the table. He slowly opened it, revealing a large birthday cake. "Funny," he said, his voice calm. "Whose birthday is it? I don't remember getting an invitation." Emma looked nervous and opened her mouth to explain, but Max didn't give her the chance. He picked up the entire cake and firmly pressed it down onto her head. This time, it wasn't just a smear of cream, it was the whole dessert. In an instant, she was covered in frosting and sponge, looking like a half-finished sculpture. Max's brother, bless him, kept his phone camera rolling. Max turned his attention to Ethan. "Lick it clean," he said, his voice hard. Ethan just stared at him, frozen. Max pressed him. "You love cleaning up for her, don't you? You're not leaving until every last bit is gone." The shock in the room was palpable. Ethan finally snapped out of his trance as Emma began frantically trying to wipe the mess off her face, only succeeding in spreading it further. Taking advantage of the stunned silence, Max grabbed Ethan by the collar of his shirt and pulled him right in front of Emma. "Go on," he said, "do it again. I want a good video this time, in high definition." Ethan, now with some cream on his own face from the struggle, panicked and scrambled out of the room. Emma finally found her voice and shouted, "Max, you're unbelievable. Just you wait." Max picked up her drink and splashed it on her face. The cream began to drip down in sticky streams, and the liquid stung her eyes. "It hurts. It hurts," she cried out. "Max, what is wrong with you?" Max let out a dry laugh. "Just playing games, right? I felt bad for missing all the fun earlier. You don't mind, do you?" Suddenly, she stopped wiping her face, her hands falling to her sides. The look in her eyes changed from anger to humiliation as she finally understood why he was there. Max turned to the rest of the party guests. "If he won't clean it up, you can all help. Otherwise, I have the earlier video, and I have no problem sending it to every single one of your partners." "Max, that's enough," Emma screamed, her voice cracking. "You've gone too far." "Gone too far," he sneered. "Do you even have a line anymore, Emma?" Her chest heaved with ragged breaths, her eyes red as she glared at him. She threw the towel she was holding onto the floor. "Can't you give me any face in front of our friends?" "Face?" Max shouted back. "You talk about face after letting him do that to you in front of everyone? You lost any right to talk about dignity." Later that night, alone in the quiet of his apartment, the anger subsided and was replaced by a hollow emptiness. Floating in that sea of bitterness, Max came to a clear and simple conclusion. He had to break up with her. But just leaving wasn't enough. Letting them get away with this so easily felt wrong. His mind drifted back to the day he first met Ethan. Emma had asked him to come with her to the airport to pick someone up. On the way, she told him about Ethan. He was the son of her father's old army buddy, 2 years younger than her. After his parents passed away, he had come to live with her family at the age of 14. He left to study abroad at 18, got married there, and was now coming back because the business opportunities were supposedly better here. It all sounded straightforward enough, so Max didn't think much of it. At the airport, he was stunned by the sheer amount of luggage Ethan had. As Emma struggled to fit it all into the trunk of their car, she casually mentioned, "Oh, by the way, Ethan just got divorced, so maybe don't bring it up." It felt like a rather important piece of information to be dropping so casually. So he wasn't just here for business. And she added, suddenly remembering another detail. "He doesn't have a place to stay yet, so he'll be with us for a few days." Max stared at her, speechless. She patted his arm, avoiding his eyes. "Just be a good host. I'll help him find an apartment soon. Before Max could protest, Ethan returned from wrangling his carts. His luggage filled the trunk and spilled over into the back seat, leaving almost no room. Emma, tired and sweaty, opened the front passenger door for him. "Hop in, Ethan," she said cheerfully. It was a normal gesture of hospitality, but with the back seat full of suitcases, Max was left wondering where he was supposed to sit. She shot him a pleading look, her hands clasped together. Max sighed, giving in, and squeezed himself into the tiny space left in the back. As they drove, Emma tried to smooth things over, pointing out the sights. "Look at how much the city has developed, Ethan." The car moved down a wide boulevard lined with gleaming skyscrapers. The country had indeed made incredible progress. Ethan was unimpressed. "What's the point of all these tall buildings if you can't even get any fresh air?" he said dismissively. Then he added, "This clean street is probably just for show. I bet the other parts of the city are filthy. And you all use QR codes to pay for everything, right? My friends say civilized people use credit cards." Max glanced at Emma. She was usually so patriotic, but now she just laughed awkwardly. To change the subject, she said, "Ethan, I got you some water. It's in the glove compartment." His face lit up when he opened it. "Evian, you always know what I like. And Perrier too, my favorites." Emma smiled. "I was worried you wouldn't like the local water." As he sipped his expensive water, Ethan asked, "Why does your car have a green license plate?" "It's an electric car," Emma answered proudly. "They're very popular here now." Ethan's face fell. "An electric car? No wonder I'm starting to feel dizzy." Max had to bite his tongue. His high-end electric car, worth a small fortune, had never made anyone dizzy before. It was Emma who seemed to be losing her mind. Just as they turned onto a smaller street, Max decided he'd had enough. "Emma," he said loudly, "I'm feeling really dizzy too. Stop the car. I'll get a cab." She glanced at him in the rearview mirror, a flash of guilt in her eyes, but she didn't slow down. "Stop the car," he yelled. "Pull over now." She finally steered the car to the side of the road and turned to Max, her eyes wide with panic. "Max, are you really feeling sick?" "Yes, I'm dizzy too," he insisted. Ethan, looking confused, chimed in. "Did you and Emma go to the same university? The education here isn't really that great, you know." His tone was full of contempt. Max chuckled. "You're wrong. I never went to college. I'm just a toad in a well who has never seen the outside world." The sarcasm was heavy, aimed squarely at Ethan. Since both Ethan and Emma were college graduates, his words left them speechless. Seeing Ethan's stunned face, Max smirked, got out of the car, and slammed the door shut. As Emma's car disappeared down the road, he let out a long breath. The Friday evening traffic was terrible. Since his parents lived nearby, he decided to go there for dinner. Afterwards, he packed a few things and checked into a hotel. He sent Emma a text, "Staying at my parents' for a couple of days." Her reply came after a long pause. "Honey, are you mad? I didn't think letting him stay was a big deal, so I didn't ask first." "I'm sorry. It won't happen again." Not feeling like talking, he replied, "Working now. Talk later." On Sunday, his phone rang. It was Emma, and she sounded frantic. "What's going on?" "Your parents came over this morning and found Ethan and me having breakfast together. They got the wrong idea. You said you were staying with them. Where are you?" "I already apologized. Why are you still acting like this?" Max rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. "I had dinner with them on Friday, but then I went to a hotel. They were planning a trip, and I didn't want to get in their way." "I know I didn't handle this well," she said, her voice softening. "Please come home so we can talk." "No," he replied flatly. "I don't like living with strangers." "How is he a stranger?" she argued. "Don't you have any decency?" "I don't like him," Max said, keeping his voice level. "To me, he's worse than a stranger. I can't live with him, and I have the right to choose where I stay." Her true feelings finally came out. "What you're doing makes it look like we kicked you out. How does that make Ethan feel?" "But that's essentially what happened, isn't it?" he retorted. "You brought a man I can't stand into our home without asking. That's the same as kicking me out." "What is so bad about Ethan?" she demanded. "Is he some great person I'm failing to see?" he asked. "You've barely spent any time with him." Max laughed. "If I spend any more time with him, I'll probably end up calling the police." Around 9 o'clock that night, Max finished his work and realized he'd left an important file he needed for the next day at home. He grabbed his coat and drove back. He let himself in quietly with his fingerprint and walked into the living room. It was dark, with a movie playing on the projector screen. On the couch, he could make out a single shadowy shape. Confused, he flipped on the lights. Emma and Ethan were huddled together, wrapped in each other's arms. The sudden light startled them, and they sprang apart, looking at Max with shock and panic. "We were just watching a horror movie," Emma rushed to explain, trying to shield Ethan. Max just nodded. "So you were both so scared you ended up in a heap on the couch. That's on me, I guess. I shouldn't have interrupted. We've watched that movie together before, and you never got that scared." She quickly looked down and saw that several buttons on her silk pajamas were undone, exposing her chest. Flustered, she tried to cover herself. "It's these pajamas. The buttons come loose easily. Why are you picking on every little thing?" Max sighed. "I guess I came home too early. It seems you two had this planned all along." Her face turned pale. "It's not like that, honey. How could you think so little of me?" Ethan, who had regained his composure, laughed. "There's no need to be so dramatic. I've lived abroad. I'm used to a more liberal lifestyle. This is nothing. As for Emma's buttons, it's just a coincidence." He then went to the storage room, pulled out his still-packed suitcases, and stacked them in front of Max. "Emma and I agreed that, to avoid any more suspicion from you, I'll move to a hotel tomorrow. See, all my things are still packed." He looked at Emma with a pained expression. "I'm sorry. This is my fault." Emma rushed over to him, looking ashamed. "Don't say that. It's my fault for not talking to Max first." Ethan's eyes started to water. He turned to Max, looking like a martyr. "I can handle being wronged. Please just take care of Emma. She's a good person. Treasure her." It was a masterful performance, and Emma was clearly touched. She took his hand. "Ethan, you have so much luggage. You can't stay in a hotel. We'll talk about this. Max won't be so unreasonable." As she said this, Ethan shot a triumphant smirk at Max over her shoulder. "If you want to leave, leave now," Max said calmly. "I don't have any luggage, and I'm staying in a hotel. You can get a suite. Since Emma wants me to be the reasonable one, why don't you both move into a hotel? You can look out for each other. That way, I'm not the bad guy." Emma glared at him. "Max, don't say things you don't mean." Ethan left, and Emma drove him. When she returned, she acted as if nothing had happened. The next morning, Max noticed that some of his clothes had been moved from his closet. He gathered up his most expensive suits and took them to be dry, cleaned, then threw the rest of his casual clothes in the trash. Emma just watched him with a smirk. "So he tried on a few of your shirts. What's the big deal?" "He's got some nerve," Max said. "Where did he crawl out from?" Just then, he saw something sticking out from under the dresser. He used a pair of chopsticks to pull it out. It was a used condom wrapper. His hand started to shake. He held it out to Emma. "Care to explain this?" She didn't even look worried. "Oh, Ethan was just joking around with you. He said you're so suspicious you'd probably jump to conclusions without even checking." "You think this is funny?" Max asked, his voice dangerously low. He flicked his wrist, and the wrapper flew from the chopsticks into her bowl of soup. She jumped up, looking disgusted. "Max, have you lost your mind? Just remember to take your medication," he said coldly, and walked away. They didn't speak for days. Then, all of a sudden, Emma started being incredibly nice to Max. They ran a company together, so they saw each other at the office every day. She brought him coffee, praised his work, and talked about their 10 years together, from their college days to building their successful business. It was so out of character that Max knew something was up. "If you have something to say, just say it," he told her. She cleared her throat. "It's about Ethan. He has a great barbecue recipe and wants to partner with us to open a restaurant. It's a small investment for a company our size, and it would help him get on his feet." Max sneered. "He doesn't seem like the type to handle hard work. Is a little barbecue joint really what he's after?" She hesitated. "Well, he's thinking of franchising it, a big chain. So we pay for everything, and he collects the profits." "That sounds like a great deal for him," Max said. Her face tightened. "Why are you always so harsh? Ethan is my friend. How can I not help him?" Max leaned back in his chair. An idea was forming. He pulled out an agreement he had drafted years ago but had never shown her, then slid it across the desk. "Our company was started with money from my parents. I provided the ideas and the labor. I should have asked for shares for them back then, but I didn't. Now that you're so eager to help out your family, I think it's time I did something for mine. Let's redistribute the shares. I want 20% for my parents." She blinked, surprised, but Max remained calm. After a moment, she looked over the agreement and signed it. "Fine," she said. We'll handle the transfer tomorrow. Now, about the money for Ethan. A few days later, their financial director came to Max. Emma had requested a $5 million transfer from company funds, saying Max had already approved it. He called her into his office. The loan is a large amount, he said. You need to follow procedure, and that means I need to sign off on it. Her face twisted. You insisted on being the chairman. I let you. Otherwise, who knows who would have the final say? Even if I weren't chairman, Max said patiently, a loan this size would require oversight. It's just good business practice. Fine, she snapped. Sign the loan agreement so we can get this over with. $5 million is not a small amount for us, Max continued. We built this company from scratch. It's hard, earn money. So is this a loan or a gift? It's a loan, she said, looking away. Good. Then there needs to be a written repayment plan. Have you prepared one? She first looked clueless, then angry. Do we really need to do this, even for family? Max laughed. If I were heartless, I wouldn't have put up the startup capital in the first place. You can go ask your friends for $5 million with no collateral and see who lends it to you. She sneered but didn't argue. Fine. We'll write a repayment plan. It was obvious they hadn't even thought about paying it back. Max pulled out a plan he had already prepared. It stipulated that 80% of the restaurant's monthly profits would go toward repaying the principal. She looked furious but signed it without reading it closely, with herself as the personal guarantor for the loan. The truth was, Max was done. She was constantly pushing his boundaries, and that video was the final straw. For weeks, he had been torturing himself about whether to leave, but today he finally had his answer. He had already contacted a lawyer and was taking their advice on securing his assets. This was just another step in that process. A few days later, she showed up at home looking exhausted. She collapsed on the couch. Max, she said, staring at the ceiling, you're so rigid and boring. You're always ready for a fight, with none of the grace that wealth should bring. Even with all your flaws, I'm still willing to tolerate you because I love you. Max laughed. No need. You're financially secure now. You can chase whatever you want, and I don't want to tolerate you anymore. I want a divorce. She sat bolt upright, her face a mask of shock. Divorce? Are you serious? Max walked to his study and printed out the divorce papers he'd had prepared. I am as serious as it gets, he said, handing them to her. I've also had a lawyer put a watch on your assets, so don't think about transferring anything. It will all be reclaimed. She stood there, shaking, the papers clutched in her hand. It was just a joke at a party, she whispered. Did that really warrant a divorce? It's a matter of principle, Max said firmly. Principles? You're willing to sacrifice our entire relationship for your so-called principles. I could ask you the same question, he replied. I admit I find you dull, she said, her voice rising. And Ethan is more lively and fun, but I never wanted to leave you. She reached for his hand, but he slapped it away, something he had wanted to do for a long time. She slumped down, defeated. Honey, let's not divorce. I'll listen to you from now on. You want excitement? Max said, pulling out his phone. He showed her the social media pages of several major travel influencers. This is what I call interesting, Emma. Reading, traveling, enriching your soul. Smearing cream on your face for another man to lick off isn't fun. It's trashy. She went pale, all the fight gone out of her. It was my fault. I'll change. I'll stay away from Ethan. No need, Max said. I deserve better. I refuse to get a divorce, she suddenly shouted. Sue me if you have to. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. Let's make a bet, Max said to her. He called out, come in. It was Chloe, the new manager of their hotel department. Max smiled at her. Chloe, have a seat. I need a favor. I've made a bet with my partner here. I'm going to smear this cake on your face, and then I'm going to lick it off. If my partner doesn't mind, I lose the bet. Are you willing to help me out? Chloe jumped up, horrified. No, sir. Absolutely not. It's okay, Max reassured her. My partner is right here. It's just a game. Her face was pale. Boss, I am willing to work hard, but I can't do this. My boyfriend would kill me. Even if he didn't, I mind. It's humiliating. If you make me do this, I'll resign. She actually started to cry. Max held up his hands. You can leave. I was just joking. She practically ran out of the room. Max turned back to Emma. She sat there, stunned and completely defeated. She knew she had lost. The 10 years they had together were gone, crushed in an instant, just like Max had been when he saw that video. They divorced. The assets were divided roughly 70-30 in Max's favor, which was fair given his parents' initial investment. The $5 million loan to Ethan was now entirely Emma's personal debt. Max moved on quickly, finding new partners and rebuilding the restaurant side of his business. He knew it would just be a matter of time before he was back on top. For Emma, he sensed things would not go so well. A few days later, Ethan posted on social media, "Some people overreact. What we consider normal back home is a scandal here." Then another post, "I had her when she was 18. Someone is just jealous of an old flame." Max clapped back, "Accidentally tasted something rotten. Don't want to eat it anymore. And now people are upset." Their mutual friends saw the exchange, and when one of them leaked the cream licking video, the conclusion was unanimous. This wasn't just an old flame. It was cheating. At a gathering with friends, Max laid it all out. How Ethan was first introduced as her brother, how he found them huddled on the couch, how she tried to get $5 million for his business. Now, he concluded, this so-called brother is her lover. What does that make her? As his friends murmured in agreement, the truth about Emma and Ethan was finally out in the open. Max glanced toward the door and saw Emma standing in the shadows, her expression unreadable. He was deliberately poisoning the well. In the future, if she ever got into trouble, no one would be willing to help her. According to their agreement, Max still held a small share in her restaurant, which she was supposed to buy back in annual installments. He sent an auditor to check her books. The auditor came back with some interesting gossip. He had overheard a fight between Emma and Ethan. "Now that you're free, why are you so stingy about buying me things?" Ethan had complained. "I need to save money," Emma had said. "My cash flow isn't good right now." "You people here have too many issues," he retorted. "Live in the moment. Life is for enjoyment. Are you enjoying it?" She told him she still owed Max money and had to pay him back. "Come on," Ethan sneered. "Why are you still in debt to him after a divorce?" The auditor said he couldn't help himself and snapped at Ethan, telling him he had double standards and it was no wonder Max didn't like him. As the economy slumped, Emma's business began to fail. Their fights grew more intense. "The harder you work, the more debt you have," Ethan told her. "Why not just sell everything and travel the world with me?" "Ethan," she said, her voice strained, "I divorced for you. But look at all the money you've spent since you came back. Why are you never satisfied?" He laughed coldly. "You said Max was boring. You wanted excitement. You got it from me, but you don't want to pay the price." She looked at him for a long time. "If I told you I'm out of money and the restaurant is about to go bankrupt, would you even look at me twice, or would you leave immediately?" "You still have money now, don't you?" was his indifferent reply. Emma finally broke down, laughing and crying at the same time. She came to see Max, holding a bouquet of flowers, a sincere look on her face. "Max, I was wrong. I'm not here to get back together. I am just genuinely sorry." Max leaned back in his chair. "If you need to borrow money, the bank is that way. I don't mind going bankrupt," she said, not flinching. "I know this industry. I can start over. I finally understand you now. Your planning, your strategy, life is a race. I get it. I am honestly here to apologize." "Got it," Max said nonchalantly. "So you're not going to be able to repay the money you owe me, right?" She bowed her head in shame. "When you liquidate," Max said coldly, "debt comes before equity. Lucky for me, I converted my shares to debt. I can work to pay you back," she pleaded. "You know what I'm capable of." "No thanks," Max said. "I'm not hiring." She hesitated, unwilling to leave. "What's the difference between Ethan and me?" Max asked her. She looked at him coolly. "In how you treat people, you are worlds apart. As for other things, I don't badmouth my exes, Max." Max finally let out a real laugh. "Even Ethan doesn't want you now that you're broken. Why would I want to pick up his trash?" She seemed to deflate, standing there dejectedly before finally turning to leave. After she went bankrupt, Emma was diagnosed with severe liver disease, a result of years of stress and reckless living. Her dream of a comeback was impossible. Just surviving was a challenge. As expected, Ethan left her. It was later discovered that he was addicted to drugs and had only come back to use Emma as his safety net. Max stood by the panoramic windows of his office in a skyscraper in the heart of the city. Below him, the metropolis bustled with life. Above, only blue sky and clouds. He turned to his assistant. "You don't need to give me any more updates about them." He once hoped she would fail, that she would never recover. But now, looking down on the world from his new vantage point, he realized they weren't worth any more of his energy.